Good afternoon. I really appreciate the volume, the number of you who are still here. I expected to speak to nobody because it's too late. I really like the topic which I will speak about. It's a mediumistic art. Who of you knows what is mediumistic art? Those on the right, we don't count. We spent a day together talking about it. Okay, so most of the people who are living their lives, they don't know that they are surrounded by magic. Even here at the background for the whole Biohacker Summit, we were surrounded by art from VESA, connected with geometric abstraction created by Sakaru. Those two guys will come later, so we can see what is it all about. But how I met first mediumistic artist. I was asked by one of the biggest collectors of mediumistic art in the world in London to help him collect art from my country, from Czech Republic. And it happened like 7 years ago. And since that time, I passed a long journey of searching, researching, and also interviewing a huge amount of artists who told me about their experiences, how they create art, what is from their perspective their work and what is not. And you would be surprised how many artists speak about themselves as a medium. Sometimes they say, it came to me, or I did it, it just happened, yeah? And it is constantly happening in the art world, but not only in the art world. It happens to all of us when we think about someone and he's calling to us, or when we think about something and it happens, and so on. So everything I will tell you during next 20 minutes, it's well documented. It has been exhibited in the major galleries all around the world, including Tate Modern London, including Museum of Modern Art. And it all started by two curators around the year 2000 who just mentioned that there is an artist in Sweden. Her name is Hilma af Klint, and they made her exhibition. And we will speak about Hilma later, but we will start with the definition. What is mediumistic art? I will not repeat what is written behind me, but in general, pure mediumistic art happens when non-artist, non-professional comes during the day to his job, starts drawing something, and it appears to be a drawing which could be also signed by some other name which he never heard, and these drawings appear to be interesting. Sometimes they are so precisely drawn, like you can use a printer to repeat it. You cannot do it by yourself in a stable conscious. And these people are becoming medium in the perspective of view, like when we take us as a persons who are spirit, which is controlling the substance, body. And imagine the situation that some other spirits come to you, to your soul, and they make a deal together that another spirit overtake your body and starts drawing something. And then artworks come to the stage, which are pure mediumistic arts. But this really happens. But also, many of the artists we know have their own experience. I will speak about 4 of them who are considered as founders of modern abstract art. But the techniques and the principles which I will describe, we can track them back to old Egypt, to older civilizations. The symbols which they are working with are trackable to Mesopotamia and to all civilizations. It's interesting how common they are, let's say, cross-border all around the world. But František Kupka, he was born in my country but he spent most of his time in France, in Puteaux, next to Paris. And he, together with other artists in that time, observed and learned a message which appeared in the publics, like in the media, they spoke about it, that there is something in Haiti happening, like voodoo ceremonies, where people speak to spirits. And when, by the way, Haiti became the first liberated country from slavery, when we speak about countries where black people live. And they observed that there are some techniques which can be repeated, learned. And they started experimenting with them. And František Kupka, just here, he described his experience from his attempt of contacting the spirits, the non-material world. Yeah? Together, but absolutely independently with him, we can document Kazimir Malevich, who was Russian-born, also spent some time in France, but he started suprematism, and these images, which we can see, I hope you can see them, are very light. There is almost nothing there. But the interpretation of these works, for example, here, you can imagine 1, 2, 3 steps which are drawn there. These 3 steps are also deeply encoded in a Kabbalah and will be repeated in other paintings here later. They mean the entrance to the higher wisdom. That means you learn something new. And Piet Mondrian, he is quite a tricky guy. He was a very theoretical one. He expected, he observed, he liked numbers, and he was obsessed by geometry. So this man, he looked at this phenomenon from a very different perspective of view and created this kind of geometrical works which are considered a real beginning of abstract art in the modern history. Wassily Kandinsky, he didn't use the geometry, but you can see on the painting that there is a standard landscape painting. But why is it painted with such a strong wave from the left? Why it doesn't fit to the reality? That's because he tried to show the 4th dimension, the dimension where we are free from our bodies, where the spirits live as they believe. These 4 guys are considered the founders of 20th century abstraction. That means they are regularly displayed in the museums. You can buy them if you have spared 10, 20, sometimes $50 million per painting. You can have them very easily on the market. Yeah? But then we have art which is not displayed that much. Of course, I don't speak about Hilma af Klint, who is a Swedish painter or artist #1. Hilma started working with connections to the other worlds around 1906. Her drawings are probably the first documented abstract works in the modern history. That's why Swedish nation took her as their one of the most important and well-known artists. Just as a point, or what is interesting, during her life she never exhibited. And before she died, she asked their friends to establish a foundation to protect the works from publics. And she told them that they shouldn't be displayed next 20 years. So her first exhibition was more than 20 years since she died. And most of you probably ask why she wanted that. The reason was that she believed that the audience is not ready to see that, and the audience is not ready to understand what is it all about. So how these people were working? what is common to them, and can you do it at home? So like everything which you don't learn properly, don't try it at home, please. You could get mentioned, you can be observed, or you can meet the spirits which you really don't like. But people who spend sometimes whole life, sometimes they spoke in the communities, they learned the techniques, which most of them come from Haiti, by the way, and are perfectly documented. And this picture is from the museum in the United States, where the whole exhibition was dedicated only to these techniques, how to do mediumistic art, how to play with that. So the principle is quite simple. You must be locked in a complete dark. You must install the mirror in front of you, and you must have a light. It could be candle, it could be red light. There are various options. And the person who is trying to become a medium have to know few steps how to do it. Must be focused, must be balanced, cannot be nervous, cannot be afraid. There is some ritual around, so some words must be said before they do it, because they believe that these words will create a protection for them from the spirits they don't want to meet. And these people are trying to establish a connection to the spirits. Sometimes they have proper wish to talk to someone. Yeah? I believe that some of you, in some cases, met somebody who could read the future from the cards, and in the future it really happened, or something like that. These techniques are quite spread between us and are quite well known. But what is interesting about this kind of mediumistic art, that these people are volunteering, giving their body to other spirits and letting other spirits to show something. And usually the drawings which are appearing are not very nice, because it is happening in a complete dark, so the one who is drawing can see nothing. But sometimes it happens when the drawing like this on the right appears, and you can see the detail, the precision, amazing symbolism which is there. And this is pure mediumistic art by Hilma af Klint. By the way, when we speak about the meaning, what is inside? Because most of you, I don't know if you can read the symbols which are there. The spiral in front of the two crucified persons means the voice. We as a people, we have the gift of a voice. We can speak. This is highly appreciated in this world, because through words, through voice, we are manifesting things on this planet. The right side is blue, left side is yellow. We can interpret it as a night and day. Also, we can interpret it as our inside, as our consciousness, and the outer world, unconsciousness. The crucified persons, it's not well visible on the image from the distance, but it's a men and women. And the flowers, which are on the left, on the right, the flowers on the left is a lily. It's a symbol of clearness, purity. And the right is rose, but white rose. White rose is a symbol of pure, unprecedented love, connected with women principles. That's why also on the right we have a women crucified, and on the left men crucified. And then on the bottom there are two snakes, yellow and blue, which are walking or sliding the 3 steps which I mentioned before, the 3 steps of knowledge, of education, of higher, let's say, elevation, which you must pass to enter the world where you understand all these symbols and meanings. On the left, we have Jungian onion. Jungian onion, it is quite well description of our self. When we have our consciousness, subconsciousness, we have our deep subconsciousness, which is not easy to enter. So many people believe that the mediumistic drawings are just a digging into this onion of ourselves without contacting other spirits. Yeah? It could be, but if it's that, I am very curious how they would explain that the guy who was neither an artist nor the author, he was a healer, and generally he used to be a miner. And the miner started creating the drawings like this. There were many of them, and these drawings appeared on the planet, on the world, without his any consciousness. He mentioned that he never knew what is happening. Yeah, so these drawings are fascinating. Also, František Jaroslav Pecka, who comes from Czech Republic, he was a interesting avant-garde figure which represent pure mediumistic art. As I told you at the beginning, this guy never was an artist. He never drew professionally, or he never taught drawing. He just lived very regular, ordinary life. When he lived as a worker at the railways, he counted the rails, how they are running. And during that time, sometimes he described that he simply started drawing something, and after some time he awake from the dream, as he said, and the drawings appeared. But if we speak about dates of these drawings, they were far before Art Deco appeared, by the way. And a lot of the mediumistic drawings, they predict the future. They predict what will happen. That's why the curators and, let's say, art collectors and all of us art professionals, we are searching for highest quality mediumistic art, which is happening now, because it gives us some information what will happen. I tried to find a mediumistic art which predicted the war in Ukraine. There are existing, but the people in Ukraine, they don't want to speak about it now because they are suffering a lot. So I couldn't get the reproduction with their permission, of course. So I cannot show it here, but I can speak that about half a year before the war, these drawings were mentioned on publics in Ukraine. And the war, they knew, some circles, they knew very well what is happening, also thanks to these drawings. Emma Kunz, together with Hilma af Klint, she belongs to those artists who became super well-known as superstars because of the exhibitions, as I mentioned, in Great Britain, in Serpentine Gallery, in London, later in Tate Modern in London, and later in Museum of Modern Art in the United States. The reason why I am showing you works from Hilma af Klint, it's because later you will see another geometrical abstraction, another geometrical art, which was created by artist who is here with us. And it will be my privilege to ask him a question, how his works appeared. By the way, you can see some small parts of it at the background circulating around, and his geometrical abstraction followed you during the whole Biohacker Summit. So Emma Kunz, she did amazing drawings and she created large volume of them, and she was never able to interpret what is it about. She never spoke about it. But when later curators and scientists exhibited her works, it is not especially exactly this one, but the others, they found very interesting codes, informations, symbols, which are deeply encoded in her works. And these symbols can be tracked back to Kabbalah, could be tracked back to Catholic religions, also to Egyptian religions, and also other religions. These symbols are constantly repeating, appearing on the planet Earth, and if we know how to read them, it can give us very interesting information. Before I finish, we should ask the question why. Why is it happening? Why am I speaking about it? For me, when you speak to the artists who are experimenting with that, or when you speak to the people who did the works, they are very honest persons and they say, I am searching for the truth. I just would like to know the truth. And that's surprisingly, not 90, not 99%, this is 100% answer from these people. And it brings me to very humble questions like, there are more things than we can see, and there are far more things which are surrounding us. And I am finishing the presentation with this work from Sigmar Polke, who was a German artist and, of course, highly appreciated, accepted, presented in all the major museums in the world. And I made a translation also to Finnish language. Higher powers command, paint the upper right-hand corner black. And this is what is happening to all of us. The higher power could be our spirit, it could be some other spirit also. But these movements are happening all the time. And we are surrounded by images. And when you learn the language of images, when you start focusing on what is surrounding you, you can be a better biohacker than you are now, because you will be able to decode, to read the language which you didn't know that it exists. And that's quite important. And I wish you luck on this journey because it's exciting and it's also super interesting, and it will elevate you to another dimension of your knowledge together with all the stuff which you are using as a supplement, as a food, and as a information. This is a big part of biohacker's life, to learn what are the symbols around him, and also to learn that there are many things which are happening which are not that easy to describe. I wish you to have a great time, and thank you for your time.